The Miami Heat were never supposed to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. The majority of the NBA isn't. Going into Sunday night's game might have already been a lost cause, but as a player or coach on the Heat, you, of course, can't have that mentality. However, in the 124-112 loss to the Thunder, it was the mentality, or lack thereof, that evidently drowned the Heat in a game where, according to Erik Spoelstra, they had the right level of physicality needed to play competitively and perhaps win. Miami's physicality wasn't enough, even though they led at the half, and that's where Spoelstra's latest public criticism of his team, from behind the microphone, focused after the 12-point loss and the Heat's third consecutive loss, going back to last week. Erik Spoelstra calls out Heat for lack of focus, but emphasizes they will get better moving forward. A week ago, Spoelstra lamented that the Heat simply aren't where they need to be to compete with the league's great and better teams. Watching Miami play this season, the championship head coach isn't wrong by any means. The Heat have dropped their last 3 games. One of those games was completely and entirely unacceptable because of their opponent, the Indiana Pacers, who picked up just their 8th win on the season. Miami had no business losing that game, but they did, and then followed it up with a loss to OKC. A better loss, but still a loss. While Miami had some good runs and stretches in Sunday's game, it wasn't enough, and Spoelstra made that clear afterward. We just have to be overall tougher with everything. Not just physical toughness, Spoelstra said. I felt like we brought physical toughness, but the mental toughness when the momentum starts to swing the other way. It doesn't have to be a 14-2 run. It can be half. We didn't respond well, but we will get better at that. Will they? After a good start of January, fresh off finishing off December well, the Heat are now 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're so inconsistent right now that while they might be holding on to the 8th seed in the East and a play-in spot, they don't look anything close to a team that could even make it to round 1 of the playoffs, much less compete and win a round. They ended this recent road trip going winless, and that speaks to many of the issues the Heat are currently dealing with. Last week, when Spoelstra admitted the Heat can't go toe-to-toe with the better NBA teams, he said they would have to rely on physicality and swarming the basketball, causing turnovers and chaos. By playing this way, a team has to remain mentally aligned as a collective, and that's what Spoelstra isn't seeing, especially against the Thunder. Miami will get another crack at the Thunder to end this week, when they host the NBA's leading team at home on Saturday. The trade chatter around the Heat is more than any other team in the league, save maybe the Los Angeles Lakers. At least in the East, Miami is at the center of it, and for good reason. Whether moves happen in the coming weeks or not, Spoelstra has to figure out a path forward with his current roster, and focusing on the mental aspect of the game will certainly play a part. After all, he stated, they will get better at it. It's looking more and more likely that the Miami Heat could facilitate a trade for Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant. Morant and his camp reportedly have an interest in joining the Miami Heat. With news that the Grizzlies are entertaining trade calls for their star, the Heat have discussed the early stages of a possible trade. There have been preliminary discussions between the Heat and Grizzlies regarding Morant's availability, according to Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald. Those talks have not yet escalated, and a deal is not imminent, with a source characterizing the Heat's link to Morant as premature. Despite a premature interest, the Heat could be desperate to add talent to their roster. They are currently 21-19 and are likely headed to the play-in tournament for the 4th consecutive season. The Heat are missing a marquee superstar that can push the team over the edge and compete for an NBA Finals. Morant could be that missing piece. The Heat have been linked to other stars throughout the season via potential trades. Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo and Dallas Mavericks star Anthony Davis are among the names that have been linked to the Heat. However, Morant seems to be the most likely star the Heat would target in a trade. This season, Morant is averaging 19 points, 7.6 assists, and 3.2 rebounds per game. Morant is averaging his lowest points per game since his rookie season. What trade package would the Miami Heat send to the Grizzlies for Ja Morant? The Miami Heat have the necessary pieces to trade for Ja Morant if the team is seriously interested in a deal. NBA insider Shams Charania reported that the Memphis Grizzlies would prioritize draft picks and young players in return. ESPN analyst Bobby Marks proposed a hypothetical package, which would be Davion Mitchell, Terry Rozier, and a first-round pick in exchange for Morant. While the Heat don't want to include draft capital in a Morant trade, according to Anthony Chang, the first-round pick could be replaced by a young player such as guard Jamie Jaquez Jr. or center Kel'el Ware. Rozier is likely to be included in any package for Morant because of his salary. Rozier's contract is for $26.6 million, which would act purely as a cap facilitator in a trade. Morant is owed $89 million in additional salary over the next 2 seasons. He won't become an unrestricted free agent until the 2028 offseason. How would Ja Morant fit in with the Miami Heat? On paper, Ja Morant and the Miami Heat could have trouble meshing if the team decides to trade for him. Morant's off-court issues are no secret. He's missed 34 games throughout his career due to various suspensions. Heat culture is a term thrown around often, but a large aspect of it is creating a strict, no-nonsense environment. NBA insider Chris Haynes believes that could be exactly what Morant needs. The Heat does have interest. I would like to see him in Miami, Haynes said. I would like to see him in Miami because of the structure. Pat Riley being there, he's never been shy to bring on guys who have questionable paths. I think it would be good for Ja Morant not just as a player but as a man to go into there. The Miami culture is different, it really is. Ja Morant addressed trade rumors at a press conference in Berlin ahead of Thursday's game against Orlando, but his responses were brief and guarded, writes Joe Vardon of The Athletic. Speculation that Morant might be moved before the February 5th deadline has been rampant since ESPN's Shams Charania reported last Friday that Memphis is listening to offers. Asked during his 6-minute meeting with reporters how the rumors are affecting him, Morant said, "Live with it." Morant's other statements were similarly short, Vardon adds. In response to a question about whether he expects to still be with the Grizzlies after the deadline passes, Morant responded, "I'm the only one you asked that question to?" Queried about the response of Memphis fans to a potential deal, he stated, "I think y'all should be more worried about my reaction and not other people. Like, my reaction is more important." The only real insight Morant offered was regarding his relationship with head coach Tuomas Isalo, which was strained early in the season, resulting in a 1-game suspension after a locker room confrontation. Morant indicated that things have improved, saying, "He cool. I don't think we've had too many ups and downs. That's just y'all on the outside looking and thinking that." The Grizzlies announced that Morant will miss Thursday's game, which will be his 6th straight absence, due to a right calf contusion. It's the 3rd time he has been listed as out instead of questionable in the pre-game injury report since Charania's report surfaced. League sources told Vardon that Morant informed at least 2 teammates, along with other NBA players, that he doesn't plan to play for Memphis again. However, Vardon points out that Morant is still classified as a star by the NBA, and the overseas contests, which are being televised by Prime Video, are considered national TV games. League rules require star players to participate in those games unless they can show proof of a legitimate injury, so Morant's status for Sunday will be worth watching. Morant plans to meet with members of his business team while in Europe to consider his future, according to Kelly Iko of Yahoo Sports, who hears that the Heat have become an attractive option to his camp over the past few days. Miami's reputation for attention to detail and structure is appealing to Morant, Iko adds, and he has a deep respect for head coach Erik Spoelstra. The Heat coach also runs Team USA, and Morant hopes to represent his country at the 2028 Summer Olympics. Iko states that Morant views Miami's veteran presence as another positive. Morant has 2 years and $87 million left on his current contract after the season, and sources tell Iko that he's hoping to receive a max extension by next summer. That's unlikely to happen with the current situation in Memphis, but rebuilding his reputation in Miami could be the best path toward a huge payday.